Thus, the creation of the heavens, the earth, and everything in them was completed. On the seventh day, God finished all the work he had done and rested from all his labor. Then he blessed the seventh day and set it apart as a holy day, because on that day he had finished all his work and rested. And this is how the heavens and the earth were created.
The Garden of Eden. When the Lord God made the heavens and the earth, no grass or plants had yet sprung up, for the Lord had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no one to cultivate the ground. But a stream rose from the earth and watered the whole surface of the ground.
But a stream rose from the earth and watered the whole surface of the ground. Then the Lord God formed the human being from the dust of the ground. He breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. After this, the Lord God planted a garden in the region of Eden in the east, and there he placed the human being he had formed. The Lord made all kinds of beautiful trees grow there, trees that produced good fruit to eat. In the middle of the garden were the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
A river flowed out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it divided and became 4 rivers. The first is the Pishon, which encircles the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is pure, and there is also a rare perfume and precious stones. The second river is the Gihon. It flows around the whole land of Cush. The third river is the Tigris, which runs along the east side of Assyria. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. Then the Lord God placed the man in the Garden of Eden to cultivate it and take care of it.
And the Lord gave the following command.
You may eat the fruit from any tree in the garden, except from the tree that gives the knowledge of good and evil. Do not eat the fruit of that tree, for on the day you eat it, you will surely die.
Then the Lord said,
It is not good for the man to live alone. I will make a helper suitable for him, someone who completes him.
After the Lord God formed from the ground all the wild animals and all the birds, he brought them to the man to see what he would name them. And each one received the name the man gave it. The man gave names to all the birds and to all the domestic and wild animals. But for Adam, no helper was found who was suitable for him, someone who could be his other half.
Then the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. While he slept, God took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. From that rib the Lord formed a woman and brought her to the man.
Then the man said, Now this is truly bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. That is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united with his wife, and the two become one flesh. Both the man and his wife were naked, yet they felt no shame.
The perfect conclusion of creation, verses 1 to 2a. The completed work, verse 1. The verse states that the heavens and the earth and all that is in them were finished. Creation is not partial or incomplete. It is presented as a whole, perfect and orderly, what the Bible calls toledot, history or generations. The completion, verses 2a. God finished making all things on the seventh day. This does not mean that God was exhausted, but rather that his creative purpose for the physical world had been fully accomplished.
God rested. The concept of rest, from the Hebrew Shabbat, does not imply fatigue. It means that God ceased his creative activities in order to enjoy the perfection and fullness of his work. He settled over his completed creation. The divine model. This act establishes a pattern for rhythm for humanity, a cycle of work followed by rest, the principle of the Sabbath.
Abundance and separation. God blessed the seventh day, filling it with goodness and prosperity. God set it apart, sanctified it, making it a holy day. This is the only day in the creation account that receives such a distinction, making it special for worship and for focusing on the Creator. Meaning, the sanctification of the seventh day is directly connected to God's rest. The day is holy because God rested on it from all his creative work.
Formula of the account. Verse 4a is a historical formula. Toledot hashamayim veha'aretz. These are the generations of the heavens and the earth. This verse functions as a title or heading that introduces the next section, which will detail how creation interacts with humanity, beginning with the Garden of Eden. Transition. The focus shifts from the cosmic creation, Genesis 1, to the human and earthly creation, Genesis 2. The seventh day is not only the end of creation, it is the crown of creation. It establishes the rhythm of life, work followed by rest, and defines time as a realm in which God interacts with humanity through holiness and rest. The primitive earth and the water. Genesis 2, 4b through 6. This passage describes the condition of the earth before plant life could flourish, setting the stage for creation. Condition of the earth. Verse 5. The earth was barren and infertile. There was no wild vegetation, no grass or plants. Two essential elements were missing: rain, the supply from above, and a cultivator, the care of man. This emphasizes that life and fertility depend on both divine provision and human participation. The beginning of life. Verse 6. Instead of rain, a flow of water, ed in Hebrew, possibly vapor or an underground stream or mist, would rise to water the surface of the ground. This is God's first act of provision to make the earth capable of sustaining life, demonstrating that plant life only begins after divine intervention with water. The intimate creation of man. Genesis 2:7. This verse focuses on the unique composition and dual nature of the human being. Formation of the body. God formed the human, Adam, from the dust of the ground, Adamah. This direct connection, Adam from Adamah, establishes the earthly, mortal, and dependent nature of humanity. The soul, spirit. God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. This vital act distinguishes humans from other living beings who do not receive this direct divine breath. The living being. The union of dust, material, and breath, spiritual, divine, resulted in a living being which is Nefesh Hayah. Humanity is therefore a creature with both a material and a spiritual dimension, created to interact with God. Eden and the divine order. Genesis 2, verses 8 through 17. God establishes the perfect environment and the first command for humanity. The Garden of Eden, verse 8. The name Eden means delight or pleasure. The garden is a perfect place, planted by God in the east, and it serves as the original sanctuary and home of mankind.
perfect provision, verse 9. God provides abundantly, beautiful trees, good fruit, ensuring both sustenance and beauty. The two trees, verse 9. Tree of life offers immortality. Tree of the knowledge of good and evil offers moral choice, the knowledge of independence from God, which is evil. It serves as a test of Adam's obedience and faith. The command was simple: complete freedom. You may eat from any tree, with one single restriction: the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This restriction is not arbitrary. It teaches that life and blessing come through dependence on and obedience to God. The consequence of disobedience is death, separation from the source of life.
The rivers and the purpose of man. Genesis chapter 2, verses 10 through 15. This section describes the geography of Eden and Adam's first responsibility. The central river. The single river rises in Eden to water the garden, and as it flows out, it divides into 4 rivers: Pishon, Gihon, Tigris, and Euphrates. This suggests that Eden was the source of all fertility and life on earth. Geographical richness. The mention of rivers and lands, Havilah, Cush, Assyria, anchors the narrative in real history and geography, though the exact location is debated today after the flood. The description of the riches of Havilah, pure gold, rare perfume, and precious stones, emphasizes the perfection and abundance of the newly created world. Adam's purpose. The man's task is clear: to cultivate it and to keep it, to work and to guard. This establishes work as a blessing and a purpose given by God, not as a curse.
The creation of Eve and the union. Genesis 2:18 through 25. The narrative culminates in the formation of Adam's companion and the institution of marriage. Human loneliness, verses 18 through 20. It is not good for the man to be alone. This is the first and only thing God declares not good after creation. It highlights the human need for relationship and companionship. Naming the animals, verses 19 through 20. Adam names all the animals, demonstrating his authority over creation. However, in doing so, he recognizes that none of them is a suitable partner. Azer kenegdo, a helper corresponding to him, or one who is like his other half. The creation of Eve, verses 21 through 22. God causes Adam to fall into a deep sleep, a sign of divine intervention. The woman is formed from Adam's rib, or side. This symbolizes that she is of the same essence, not inferior like the dust, nor superior like God, and meant to stand beside him. Adam's praise, verse 23. Adam awakens and immediately recognizes her, bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. He gives her the name woman, or Isha, because she was taken out of man, or Ish. This reflects shared identity and unity. The institution of marriage, verse 24. This verse establishes the foundational principle of marriage: leaving, uniting, and becoming one flesh, a physical, emotional, and spiritual union. Innocence, verse 25. They were naked and felt no shame. The absence of shame reveals their complete innocence, mutual honesty, and perfect harmony with each other and with God.